You recognize that tune, and you know it's time for Relics Radio. This is a family-friendly show, so the entire family can join us as we talk metal detecting and relic hunting. You can call into the show at 270-495-0315 or join in the chat and post any comments or questions you might have, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. You're listening to Relics Radio of Southern Kentucky and Middle Tennessee. And you are live again on Relics Radio. It is September the 20th of 2018. It is the summer that will not go away. I tell you what, it is still just so cotton-picking hot here in Kentucky that, I can't wait until fall comes. And looking at the weather forecast and everything, about a week from now, we're going to have an abrupt change, and it's going to get down into the 40s at night. And I tell you what, I can't wait for that to happen. But we're going to have a good show tonight. We've got a good guest, and we've got a surprise tonight. If you haven't been watching social media, Tennessee Jeff, he's with the Hippie Fest tonight and tomorrow, and I think the next day. He sells ice to the hippies twice a year at a festival that they all gather up with in Tennessee. But I am lucky enough tonight to have a beautiful replacement for Jeff, and that is Sue Roberts out of Texas. How you doing, Sue?
I'm good. How is everybody doing tonight?
I'm doing great, I tell you. And, I told you back whenever we had you on the show that I knew that Jeff was going to be out, and I reached out to you when we were talking on the show there that night, I think maybe afterwards or something other than told you, that I'd like for you to come on and be a co-host. And, we made it happen, and I'm looking forward to tonight's show. I tell you I am. Who we got in the chat so far?
Oh, we've got a lot of people in the chat. Ohio Relic Hunters in there tonight. Let's see, we got Paul, we got Michael Lyman, we've got Earl from Virginia, Jordan Anderson, Bill Hayes. So they're trickling in.
Yeah. Finding America came in at the very first there. And also something that I will pass along. By the way, Earl, I tried to get a hold of you, and I hadn't got a hold of you, but I've got you on the books here for October the 4th. So check your Facebook messages, and surprise, surprise, you tune into the show, and now you know you're going to be a guest October the 4th. But anyway, those of you that may have watched social media today, Bob McCracken sent me a message, I think it was Bob, that somebody on Twitter had Relics Radio, and I reached out to Twitter and told them that we're being impersonated. Now, they haven't put anything on it, but I sure do appreciate that, Bob, that you sent that to me, and I've got things in the works then to go ahead and try to get that resolved and get our Twitter channel. We have been Digging with 7 on Twitter because that's the one that I had, but I hate for anybody to impersonate me. And I see a couple of more. Mark Hoover, he is our booking agent. He came in, and so good to have Mark in tonight. Who we got as a guest tonight, Sue?
We have Tony. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, so I apologize in advance. Of 5280 Adventures.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey, not much.
How do I look? I had my hair done and I cleaned up my beard and mustache. Do I look okay?
Did you see that, Sue?
You look wonderful.
I got all did up for you.
Yeah. I seen that today on Facebook or something other where he put on there. He said, I got my beard trimmed and my hair cut and everything where I look good tonight. Hey guys, if you don't know it, this is a radio show, and so that is not going to work. That's not going to do anything for us. But yeah, Tony, we been looking forward to having you on here. I reached out to you whenever we had DK on, and you participated in that show tonight. Is he going to do anything with you tonight? Have you?
I hope he doesn't embarrass me. I know you tried to get me to embarrass him last time he was on, but if it looks like he's in the chat right now. He's checking in with everybody. So I don't know. Maybe he'll call in later. Maybe he's got some deep secrets that he might share. I don't know.
I heard on, well, I don't want to get into that right now because it's going to bring up something else. But, yeah, I heard some secrets that he was hinting at that he would reveal tonight. But, yeah, we love those secrets, don't we, Sue?
Oh, absolutely.
That'd get you.
Nothing like good gossip, right?
Right. Something to hold over you. And something to make things interesting and everything. But yeah, Sue, if you can go ahead and kick off the interview with some questions that you've got for Tony.
Okay, I guess the first and foremost, the history question. How did you get into metal detecting? What machine do you use? And go ahead and get started with that.
Yeah. It's kind of, I probably think a pretty basic answer to that is how I got into it. I mean, I think most of us all have this passion for history. We love studying it and talking about it and just thinking about it. And what better way of kind of reliving that history and all of our interests, but then just digging it up. So I've really wanted to get into metal detecting for a long time, and I just never actually pulled the plug on a metal detector. And then I was actually living in Northern Virginia for about 6 months, and it seemed like when you were born, you got a metal detector for in the bassinet when you were being rocked to sleep. You had your first metal detector right away. But so all my buddies out there had metal detectors, and I just never pulled the plug on it. And then I moved back to Colorado, and I just said, you know what, I have such an interest in this. It drives me. I'm just going crazy. I'm going to go buy one. So I didn't know how much money to really invest in the hobby. So I went on eBay and bought myself a Garrett Ace 250 for like $110 or something, and had it delivered. And I can remember the first time I ever took it out. And I mean, this pretty much hooked me. I had taken my son Caden over to indoor soccer practice, and I, had been on the computer, done all kinds of research and, where am I going to go detecting and stuff like that. And I found this spot that was close to where he was doing his indoor soccer. And I was sitting there watching, and I told my wife, I said, I'm going to go up to my car real quick. I'll be right back. Well, I got in my car and I drove away, and I had my detector with me. And I ran over to this field real quick where this old house used to be. And I got out there, and I'd never turned this thing on, didn't know how to use it. And my first target, first time it goes off, I'm like, okay, I got something. So I dug it up. It ended up being a 1919 wheat penny. And I was like, oh, well, this is, I'm going to find treasure every time now. Of course, the people that think that right away, no trash, it's all going to be treasure. And from that point on, I was just hooked. It just was a part of me. And that had to have been about, almost 3 years. Well, no, it would have been 3 years in July. So I've been doing it for 3 years. I've been on YouTube for, I'm coming up on my 2-year anniversary in December. So, it's just one of those things. You just love to find the old stuff. And I just love history. It's just amazing to me just to think about, you have a find and you're holding it and you're going, the last person that held this was 150 years ago. And what was his story or their story? Why were they there? What were they doing? Why did they drop it? I mean, it just goes on and on. And unfortunately, I think most of us, and even in the chat that have this passion, it kind of just is in your brain that it drives you. It's like something I think about all the time. You know, we're driving down the street and you see an old house. Oh, I wonder how old that house is. Can I get permission? Oh, I bet that looks good. I mean, it's just one of those things that I just had. And I finally just got out and started doing it. I mean, if you don't do it, you know, you're just wasting it. So that's kind of how I got into it.
And what machines, plural, do you use?
Yeah. So I went from that Ace 250. I used that for about a year. And I, you know, had seen things about how much time you should put on the machine before you to really understand it and all these different things. And so I really hunted hard with it, put in a lot of hours on it. And really, it's a great starter machine. I really enjoyed it. And then my son Caden started getting into it a little bit. So we were kind of like sharing a machine and everything. And he kept pushing me to get an AT Pro so I could give him the Ace 250. So I'd saved up, you know, for birthdays and Christmases or whatever. I just asked for gift cards and finally ended up buying the AT Pro. And I've been using that for about a year and a half. And absolutely just love that machine. It's amazing. I just love it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then
what I have too. And it's amazing.
Yeah, and I've tried. I actually won an AT Gold when I was down at a group hunt down in Mancos, Colorado this year. I won an AT Gold, and I thought, great, you know. And Caden, of course, thought it was great too, because then he was going to get the AT Pro. So I started using the Gold, and it's just so difficult to get off that Pro. I just am in total love with the Pro, and I've kind of gone back to it. You know, I use both of them, so I've got the 3 machines all by Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
You know, me and Jeff are about the same way. We both got AT Pros. Of course, we've got Equinox and we've got GPXs. I had a 3030. I've still got an E-Track. He had a some other kind of machine. I can't remember, brand name machine, but it escapes me now what it was. But anyway, his AT Pro was on the fritz, and so he borrowed. They sent him a AT Gold to use until the AT Pro was fixed. And I don't like the tones of it. Of course, an AT Pro is a 15. The frequency on it is 15, and it's an 18 on the Gold. And I know a lot of people love the Gold, but neither one of us like the tones, and we don't use headphones, so we're in an open field most of the time, way back in the woods somewhere. And are back in a holler, and so, you know, I'm listening to his tones, he's listening to mine, and you're able to tell, you know, his area sounds a little bit better, so I'm going to kind of move over that way, you know. So. But there is a difference between the machines, and is that why you don't like the Gold as much?
Yeah, I definitely can tell the difference in the tones, but it's also, I think, I just need to get used to it. Honestly, it picks up a lot more. It's very, very distinct. I don't know. It's really hard to describe. I just used the Pro for so long, and they are similar, in how they're set up and stuff. But, I guess maybe I just haven't given the Gold enough time behind it. You know, like you said, I know people that swear by the Gold, or swear by the Pro. So, you know, it could be either or. You know, I'll put an honest effort in. I'm not going to just ditch it, but it's tough to get off that Gold. I mean, the Pro, that really it delivers for me.
Right. Well, and you get so used to hearing the tones. You get so used to hearing those tones when you use the same machine for so long. I picked up a Tesoro Sidewinder not too long ago. I wanted to learn to use the older machine. So I picked this one up real cheap somewhere, and I'm having a really hard time with it because it's just single tone, you know, and it's so different from the Pro without having the screen, and you're just relying on tones, and it's so, I guess, monotone. I'm just having a really hard time getting used to it because you're so tuned into the different tones that you hear with the AT Pro.
Well, I tell you what, guys, I started out in 1975 with my first detector, and everybody on the chat will tell you that I'm the old man in the group, wherever I'm at, just about. But it was a single-tone machine and no VDI, And I learned to hunt by tone, and I'm glad that I did, because I still hunt by, now, I'll look at the numbers every now and then, but I still hunt by tone. I like it, that way. And I think that you probably have to have, what would you guys say, 100 hours into a machine before you really even know it?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Absolutely, at least 100 hours. I had heard, and I don't know how true it is, but somebody had said you have to have 10,000 hours before you're an expert on a machine. That seems kind of excessive, but you need a lot of time to start to learn it. I've told some people that I've taken out before, the machine is telling you a story, and the longer that you listen to it, the more you're going to understand that story. They're just picking up the first time. They're like, well, how did you know that's what it was? Or, it's telling you a story. You just have to differentiate, what each tone means, how it sounds. I mean, so yeah, it takes some time for sure.
Yeah, and Mark Hoover said, Laura, you meant 1870, just saying. That's what I had to put up with. And Earl asked a question, was the iron signal, did it break on the old mono machines? Yeah, it did. And the more that I used that machine for several years before I went ahead and upgraded and everything. But I could tell whenever I had a silver coin, I could tell when I had wheat. Now, I'd get fooled every once in a while, but it was all about the tone. And if you learn your machine, if you've got a good machine by a reputable company, like Mind Lab or Garrett or Tesoro or something, you're going to be able to eventually learn those tones and learn, what they sound like. And a follow-up question to what Sue was asking on the machines and everything, and this is a question for both of you guys since you use AT Pros. What settings do you guys use on those? Go ahead, Tony.
I use Pro Zero. In moving from the Ace 250 over to the Pro, I use standard for a little bit because it's that same tone, it's the same ding sound. But then, it was kind of that, you need to, you're holding yourself back. The machine is definitely more powerful than this and can tell you different stories. So I switched over to the Pro mode and then went down to zero. And depending on where I'm at, I'll discriminate out, iron, if I don't need to find out where the iron is. So that's what the progression that I've gone. But Pro Zero is the only way to go, I think, on the Pro.
Are you the same way, Sue?
No, I'm actually Pro Custom.
Okay.
Just because I'm so, I don't do a lot of relic hunting. Most of where I hunt is either trashy parks, trashy schools. So I want to be able to, really adjust my settings a lot and weed out, the bottle caps and the pull tabs as much as possible. And the nails and the other bits of, can slaw and whatnot. Not that I still dig a lot of it, of course, but, and when I was learning the AT Pro, actually was a former coworker is the one that taught me how to use it because that's what he used. He's like, I'm going to teach you on the hardest settings possible, and everything else after that is going to be a piece of cake. And he was right.
Well, we run ours in Pro Zero, and we run our iron disc. We turn our iron audio off because if you've got the iron audio on, any iron that you hear is going to be a real good signal. So we turn it off, and we turn our iron disc down to zero. So we're absolutely hearing everything, but it does put the nails and things kind of in the background a little bit, kind of like the Equinox does now. And, we're able to pick through stuff like that. Now, I know some people that are very successful don't run in that Pro mode, but I was just wondering on both of you guys, how you ran yours. And what size coils do you run on yours, Tony?
I have that standard, I think 8.5 by 11 that came with it, the double D. But since I got that gold, it came with the 5x8, and they're compatible with each other. So if I need to switch over, I've tried to pull out the smaller coil And I'm really surprised at how much it takes to learn not only a new machine, but a new coil too. It'll tell you a different story. So again, I'm still trying to learn with a different coil on the Pro that I feel comfortable with. And it's exciting. I like it. So I have the 2 coils.
Yeah.
Same here. I started with the 8.5 by 11, and then I actually, when I bought my own, because I had used a loaner for a long time. When I bought my own, I bought it from a guy he was like, I don't have time to detect anymore. I'm selling this whole kit, and he had the standard coil, the 5x8 coil, and I got everything, the bag, the pinpointer, the whole 9 yards. But I like the 5x8 coil better. It's lighter for me, and I feel like, and that's what I have been using exclusively. And I feel like I know it so well now that like you, Seven, I hunt by tone. I rarely look at my screen. It's all by tone.
Yep. We're coming up on a hard break here. We're going to have to run a commercial and see if we can pay some bills. But when we come back, Sue is going to talk to Tony about bottle digging, so stay tuned.
Hey, Seven, we's looking good in our new Redux Radio T-shirts.
Yeah, Ken and Mark Guthrie of Detectives.com done brung them to us.
Yep. And they makes other shirts, too.
Yeah, boy. Detectives.com can handle tees for your club, hunt, or any other promotion folks may have.
Uh-huh. They even got the Wide Pride shirts.
Yeah, them boys does the manatee crawl.
Yeah, scooting on their bellies.
That's what I said. The manatee crawl.
Looks like slugs eating jelly.
Uh-huh. So whether you hunt horizontal or vertical, tell the folks where they need to go, TJ.
www.detectives.com.
Uh-huh.
I still love that commercial. I tell you, I just do not get tired of it at all. Hey, guys, in the break, we got a call in 3309. Who we got on the line?
Hey, we got Caden on the line.
Hey, Caden. This is Tony's boy. What's going on tonight?
Wait. Aren't you supposed to be cleaning your room? What are you doing?
I finished. I thought I told you I finished.
All right.
Yeah, and we talked before the show, and we had a question that we were going to ask Caden, didn't we, Sue? You remember what that question was?
We were going to ask about his favorite competition.
Oh,
right?
My favorite competition.
Yes. We heard about the competitions.
Nice.
We want to know what your favorite one is.
Okay. I think my favorite competition would have been the worm competition that me and Tony did. Don't know how long ago, but it was a while. I had to find the oldest coin, or I had to eat a worm. Well, I found the oldest coin, and so my dad lost, which was, I laughed hysterically. On the way home, he's like, maybe we can negotiate this. I'm like, no.
Well, it's funny you ask him his favorite competition, and of course it's one that he won. It wouldn't have been one that he lost. That's
wow.
No, that's just the way that it goes. What different competitions have you guys had?
Oh, we've done quite a few.
We've done a lot.
What's some other ones, Kaden? Yeah.
We've done pie in the face competitions, which I won. We've done worm eating competitions, which I've won. We've done a lot of coin roll hunting. Now,
wait a minute. Everything that you're mentioning are the ones that you won. Give us one that you lost.
Yeah.
He lost the grasshopper one.
Yeah. You had to eat a grasshopper?
It
was actually pretty tasty. It was actually pretty tasty.
Ugh. Gross. Well, that's
gross. It was really good, actually.
And he also lost the water bucket challenge.
He did, but
I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got a surprise in that too, didn't you, Tony?
I got dumped on. So I was getting ready to dump the bucket on Caden because he had lost, and we're recording in the backyard. And after I dumped him, I'm sitting there laughing at him, and all of a sudden, this huge bucket of water comes over the side of the deck, right on top of me, and completely doused. I think I got more wet than Caden did. My wife had jumped out the door. She waited till we started recording, and she had this huge bucket full of water, and she dumped it on top of me. So he won, but yeah, I got wet too. I won.
Yeah, I tell you what, Sue, we need to load up and go to Colorado and hunt with these guys. They sound like a lot of fun, don't they?
They do sound like a lot of fun. I would do that. He and I were talking before the show started. My sister actually lives up in Aurora, and Tony said that he actually lived up in the same area that she did. So I'm familiar with that neck of the woods.
Yeah.
It's nice up there. I like it up there.
It's been hot here.
I don't think I want to eat any worms, though. Do you?
No, not really. I think I'll pass on the worms. Define hot up there.
It's
what's hot?
90s still.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I guess I can't compete with Texas, but it's been unseasonably warm here. Today we had some overcast and a little bit of a drizzle, but it was in the 70s. But it's starting to. I can feel like it's starting to get down to fall now, so that's a good thing.
And Caden, I know that you love the competitions and everything, but if you had to pick what kind of metal detecting that you enjoy the most, do you like finding coins? Do you like finding relics, or which is your favorite?
I love relic hunting. Like, it just brings up so much history. Whenever I hunt relics and I find a relic, I'm like, who knows? This could have been somebody, like, really far back then. Somebody could be holding this, and I just found what they had lost. And it just makes me feel like, wow, I just recovered some history. And it really makes me happy. I just love it. I just love hunting relics.
You're a man after my heart. I love relics. Don't get me wrong. I like to find coins, and I know that you do too. But
of course,
I love the relics because that's where the history is at. Because a lot of times with coins, there's just been so many people that have handled them that they're kind of impersonal. But when you find a relic, it generally belonged to one person, didn't it, Sue?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that goes back to Caden when we were in Ohio, and we were at the Boy Scout camp. What's your most favorite relic that you found there, buddy?
Oh, I'm actually holding the pocket knife right now. I found
I think he sleeps with it.
Yeah, maybe not. Okay. I love this pocket knife. This is the first pocket knife I found. So Tony did find a pocket knife, but it was probably as small as my thumb, I like to say. It was not too big. The one I'm holding right now is as small as my index finger, probably a little bigger. And it was shocking because I'm hearing the beep and like, it's probably just trash because I've been digging trash all day. So I get in there, I actually chipped it, and I pull it out and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a pocket knife. I was so excited.
It was a really cool relic, and it's an older Boy Scout pocket knife too, which kind of made it even more special to him. So, and of course, it was bigger and older than the pocket knife that I found. So, we're not competitive or anything at all, right?
Yeah, we get.
Totally not.
Yeah, we gather that.
Yeah, right.
Hey guys, our phone lines are open, and we're one of the podcasts that not everybody can do this, but we can take as many calls as we can get, and we still have everything up and running and all the bugs worked out of our system. So if you want to call in and talk to either Tony or Sue or Caden, call in at 270-495-0315, and I've put it in the chat, and I hope that Barb or Mark or somebody will continue to do that so everybody will know what that number is and see it there. But we kind of got off track just a little bit Sue was going to ask Tony about bottle digging. Talk about that.
I was watching watching your videos the other night, and heard the story of how you got onto that property and the dump and all that. So tell that story and how you got into the digging, the bottle digging, and what, give us some of the history on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, just through some research, I found a spot southeast of where I'm at that had it looked like an old site, an old outbuilding of some sort, and it was kind of off the side of a road, but didn't seem like it was on private property itself. So I drove, it was probably about 45 minutes, drove over there, was swinging around right off the side of the road, and found an old farm truck license plate, which I thought was really cool. And this guy starts driving up on me in a truck, and gets out of his truck and starts yelling at me. And I came over and just was going to talk with him and stuff. And he's, "Oh, I thought you were somebody else. What you doing?" And I said, "I'm just out looking for old stuff." And he goes, "Well, if you're looking for old stuff, come on back here. This is all of this land out here." And he turns around and raises his arms up. "All of this land out here used to be my family's, and I know where the houses were and the dump sites were and all this other stuff." And so he's like, "Yeah, come on out with me, and I'll show you. I'll let you dig on it and everything." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is like the Holy Grail." He tells me of this, this cabin that's off on this other side, and blah blah blah. I mean, just on and on. And so I follow him into the way back off the property, and they're actually making a new housing development. They're sectioning off these plots of this land. He's selling it off at 35 acres. And so he takes me to the back and tells me where this dump is. And he says, "Yeah, I was digging in here and I found an old whiskey bottle. And, I just think it's really cool because my grandfather, he was an alcoholic, and I really think this was his bottle." And he's like, "Just go to town, whatever." I'm like, "That's pretty cool." So I start digging and find some stuff. And he comes back. He's got a cooler full of beer. And he's like, "Hey, you want a beer?" And like, who is this guy? It's my new favorite guy in the whole world. I mean, he's got beer and let me dig on his land. And so I'm showing him what I found, and he says, "Gosh, I really want to get in here and start pulling this stuff out." And he says, "You mind if I go get my backhoe and I'll start pulling the dirt down and stuff. We can really get down to the older stuff." I'm like, "You're gonna do this?" "Oh yeah, I'll be right back." So he comes driving through this field in his backhoe with his dog running next to it. And he's like, "All right, move out of the way." He starts pulling all this, the dirt down, and we're finding more stuff. And, I had to leave. And so I called DK from Adventures in Dirt, because we do a lot of digging together, and he tends to get permissions up north. I get the permissions down south. And so I told him about this guy, and I'm like, this is too good to be true, And so we made a plan to come back out together. I think it was on a Thursday, and then we came back on Saturday, talked with the guy. He's all happy, and anytime you guys want to come over, so that's cool. And we go through, we find a whole bunch of stuff, and then we come back, I think the following weekend, and I've got a big tarp, a big canopy, because it's super hot. It's out in kind of the prairie lands. And we're underneath this big canopy, and we've got, music playing, and we've got alcoholic beverages around and stuff like that. And all of a sudden we see this different looking truck kind of up on the hill, and it stops. It's just peaked at the crest of the hill, and it's sitting there for a little bit. And we're like, "Oh, it's probably just someone looking at different land or what they want to buy and put their house on." And all of a sudden this truck starts driving through the field and comes up on us. And he's like, "What are you guys doing?" "Oh, we're just digging for bottles and, looking for old stuff." He says, "Well, what are you doing on my land?" I said, "Well, your land? What are you talking about?" I talked with, I forgot the guy's name, and he goes, No, that guy doesn't own this land. I own this land. He lives in this trailer back over here, and he's just supposed to watch over this one house." He says he has nothing to do with this land. And so at this point, I'm like, "Oh, Lord, what's going to go on here now?" And so we talked with this guy who's really cool. We just told him what was going on, and he said, "Let me know when you guys are out here. No big deal." And so DK and I had a good time digging up bottles. It was the first time I'd been out bottle digging. And it didn't end up being, too good to be true, for sure. And one of the funny things, I saw that Ken King is writing Busted here. The the time before I took Ken out there, I had come across. I was out looking at stuff, trying to find where the house was and where they would throw stuff and whatever. And I came across a rattlesnake out there. So I decided, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I'm just going to wear my gun out there next time I go out. So I wore it when I was out there with Ken, and the third time when I went out there, I was still wearing my gun. And it kind of freaked the guy out because, he comes up, what are you doing on my land? And you're wearing a gun, and you're digging these holes. What in the world is going on here? But in the email that I gotten permission from the guy about, he said, I don't mind when you guys are out there. He says, but just make sure you leave the gun at home. I said, okay. So that's my bottle digging story. And I have a display case full of all kinds of great bottles that I got. It was, I think, like a 20s or 30s dump. It wasn't all that old, but that's kind of what we're going to have out here. But I found two whiskey bottles, one brown, one clear, that says not for distribution, whatever it says. I can't remember what it says, but they're pretty cool whiskey bottles for sure.
And you mentioned, Sue, one specific bottle that he found. What was that?
That was a green medicine bottle. Has the name Squib embossed on it. And when I was watching that video, I saw him pull that out of the dirt. And before he ever even held it up, I said, oh, that's a Squib bottle. Those are really, really common here. I mean, we dig them all the time. Green ones, clear ones, they're very, very common. So it was pretty funny to sit there and watch him dig something that, we're like, I'm not taking another one of those home.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had dug so many ketchup bottles and just plain old bottles of a hot sauce or something like that. And then when I found that green one and it was embossed on it, said Squib, it was like really, really cool because now I can research it. It wasn't just a plain bottle. It didn't have any markings on it or whatever. It was something I could do some research on, which really drove me then, more history and I'm just a goober like that. But, and the awesome thing, and I'll finish the story with this. My grandmother, she just passed away this about 6 months ago, but she lived with us for 18 months and we took care of her 100% of the time. We were her full-time caregivers. But she would ask me, because I would go out and, hey, I'm going out bottle day, I'm going out metal detecting. All right, well, and I'd always come home and find her or show her all of my finds. But when I brought this bottle home, I said, Grandma, I really want to show you this bottle. And I handed it to her. And she goes, oh, that's a Squib bottle. We used to have all those when I was little. I'm just like, just to have somebody identify it like that. And then I can see in her eyes thinking back, she was born in 1921. And, she was probably, 10, 15 years old when this bottle was there in her house. And she could remember that bottle. And it connected me more to history. It connected me more to her. And it just was an awesome moment for me to kind of share with her, and it really meant a lot to me. I've got that in my display case over here, and when I look at it, then I can kind of see her grinning at this little stupid Squib bottle, but it means kind of the world to me. I don't know, just a weird thing,
And that's the thing about relics. It's personal, and, somebody owned that, somebody used that, somebody related to that, and you don't have that with coins, not that coins are a bad thing to find, but just the relics just have the history. There's no doubt about it. And I see that Caden got off the line, but there were a couple of questions that were asked to Caden that we didn't get to ask him, but they wanted to know if he had a YouTube channel and Facebook.
Oh. He's not on Facebook, but he does have his own YouTube channel. It is Caden's Adventures. Mine's 5280 Adventures. His is Caden's Adventures. There's a couple of them out there, but his little picture is a Nerf gun crossed with his Ace 250, kind of like in an X. And he does metal detecting. He's put up some fishing videos, ice fishing that we've done. He does, online gaming, those kind of different things. You know what a 12-year-old does, that kind of thing. But he wants to definitely do. He's getting excited for it to get colder out because he loves to go ice fishing. So we'll have some ice fishing videos coming up soon. I can't wait for those. Those are one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, sounds like y'all are busy people, no doubt about it. Hey guys, phone lines are still open. 270-495-0315. We're going to take a break right now, but we will take your calls as soon as we come back and maybe talk a little gold prospecting. If your passion is metal detecting, then you know how much your success is based on the equipment you use. Let my buddy Tim Henderson of Murray Branch Outdoors in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, help you with that. Tim is an authorized dealer of Garrett, XP Deus, Tesoro, and Macro detectors and supplies, and he is now an authorized dealer for MineLab. So, if you're looking to get your hands on the new Equinox 600 or 800, then Tim is your guy. Murray Branch Outdoors is not only competitive in their prices, but the service after the sale is second to none. Tim not only sells detectors, he uses them, and so he can answer any questions you might have. Murray Branch Outdoors also deals in used detectors, and he'll take your old detector in on trade when you decide to upgrade. So give Tim of Murray Branch Outdoors a call at 615-948-4611 and be sure and tell him Relics Radio sent you. And guys, if you do have any metal detector needs, give my buddy Tim Henderson a call. My video that I put out this week, I went down and hunted with Tim Henderson and Ron Reed, the Dig Dogs, down in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. We hit a Civil War camp / school, so you know how that works out. You find a little bit of Civil War stuff, and you find a lot of junk, too. A lot of signals in a field like that. But now Tim can hook you up. He'll give you a good deal, and he's always a phone call away if you have any problem with anything that you get from him. The gold prospecting that you've been doing, just started doing, I think, Tony, you've been doing with with DK, right?
Yeah. So, we both love being outside, obviously. I mean, these are the hobbies that we enjoy are all outside, and he's been more involved with it prior to us becoming friends. And he'd, been out there a couple times and all of a sudden, it just kind of dawned on me. I was like, I really want to try this. So we went out a couple times and just had a really good time being out in the water. It's just so peaceful. I mean, Colorado, I'm sorry, but Colorado is just one of the most beautiful places in the United States. Each place has its own beauty, don't get me wrong. I know it's beautiful in Tennessee and in Kentucky, and I've lived in Texas. So, I mean, everywhere is gorgeous. But there's just something about sitting in a river with nobody around, listening to the water, and the real thing of Colorado blue. The sky in Colorado is just absolutely amazing. So I think we enjoy finding gold, of course, but it might just be also just kind of the beauty of being out there. We're just so lucky to be in such a beautiful state and everything. But so just picking it up and going out and enjoying our time together. And it's always great when you come back with some color too.
No doubt about that. And talking about your partner in crime, DK is on the line. What's going on, DK?
Hey guys, how you doing? Boy, I just had to call in and lend some support here to Tony.
Yeah, you
sort of.
He called in when we had you on the show, so you owed him that much, didn't you?
He sure did. And,
hey, I was nice. So I expect the same in return here.
Absolutely.
Oh, what? There's no fun in that. Come on.
I know what Sue wants.
Sue
wants
both a little. I want to what?
Sue wants some gossip. That's what Sue wants. Sue wants a story, and I know DK's got some to tell on him.
Well, I may or I may not. I don't know. But I tell you what, he couldn't ask for a better digging partner. I tell you, he's definitely a great guy. I know he says similar things about me, but I surely mean it. I'm so glad I hooked up with him. And of all the people in the world you can meet, we have just such similar interests and really kind of complement each other. And we go out and we're, over the time we've known each other, we've really learned each other's sense of humors. And, there's nothing better now when you can go out with a buddy and you know each other's sense of humors and you just kind of feed off of that and, use one's strengths, the other one's strengths at other times. And we just have a good time. We have a great time. And there's not too many embarrassing stories I got. I'm sure I can come up with a few, but probably not in this format. Probably some other time.
Well, Sue, we tried, didn't we?
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, though, I do have a story for you. We were both down digging down south, southern Colorado area. We found this. Tony had done some research and found this really old town, and it was kind of a town that was actually owned and built by Tony was the name of that company that built that town. DuPont. That's right. They built the entire town for their management team, and they had a plant there. And it dates back, pretty early, at least here for Colorado. And we went down there, and we were digging around down there. And within like I don't know, 10 minutes of each other, he first goes, "Hey Ken, come here, check this out. I got a good find here." And I go over there and I look, and he's got a Colorado tax token, and I think it was the first one of those that he had dug, and like a 2 mil one. And he, it was awesome because, before I'd ever dug a tax token, I didn't really know about them. I didn't know about that kind of history. I didn't study in school, and I never really knew about it. So I just think those are still cool still. Probably after I found 100 of them, maybe I won't think they're so cool. But about 10 minutes later, I found another Colorado tax token, but it was a different type. They have round types and they have these square varieties. And it was just such a coincidence that we're both on the same little plot of land. We're both finding these tax tokens, and it was just a really cool experience. We met a bunch of people that day. Were telling us to go down behind this like little holler area next to this creek, and that's where everyone was finding the gold. And we went out there, but we didn't find anything out there.
We should have stayed at the park area. We were doing better over there.
Well, tell us about what the gold prospecting that y'all are doing. I know that y'all did some panning because I've seen videos from both of you on that.
Yeah, there's gold out here in the creeks of Colorado, and Tony's been really getting after it lately.
Yeah, I bought there's a book. There's a website and a Facebook page called Finding Gold in Colorado, and this guy, I can't remember his name, is pretty popular guy here in Colorado, but he wrote this book, and it outlines, I don't know how many different locations that you can go out and prospect on public land, because a lot of it out here is on private. The claims are everywhere, and you don't want to mess with those things. So this book has outlined, a specific area between this post and this post, or this tree and whatever. It's open to the public, and you'll find this type of gold. You're looking for this type of, to go down to this. There's a false bedrock here, and it's a fantastic book, and it's kind of the same thing with history or with metal detecting for me. Like once I get it, man, it drives me. I mean, I think about it all the time. So you get I start out real cheap. I'll just buy a pan and go out and see what I can find. Well, after that, I've got the classifiers now. I've got the sluice box. I've got this. I've got that, and it compounds. And so I think obviously, I talk with DK. At least it's every day, and I won't tell you how many times because you guys might think it's kind of weird how many times per day we speak to each other. But towards the end of the week, it's always like, well, what do you want to do this weekend? Oh, I don't know. What time are you available? Well, I can talk to my wife, and I think I can get out about this time. All right. Well, I'll try and get out about this time. Where do you want to go? And we come up with this plan like every single weekend. As much as we can. And in fact, we kind of spent so much time together that we kind of decided that maybe we should get our wives together so they don't think some weird things are going on between Ken and I. so now we go out as couples and we do things. We've done those escape rooms. We go out to dinner and just those kind of things. So, it's
had a great time.
It's a friendship that, goes past it. We've got some great, things in common, but, God, I like Ken said, and it sounds corny, but I really couldn't have found a better digging partner. And it just seems like we hit on all cylinders. So we're both just very, very lucky and enjoy being out and enjoying Colorado so much. Oh my gosh. Amazing.
The hard decisions now is, do we go get wet this weekend, or do we go,
right,
sweat our butts off somewhere in the sun and then digging in the dirt? It's like, which way do you want to go this weekend?
Yeah, you get dirty or you get wet. Which one is it going to be?
I know which one I'd pick. Don't you, Sue?
I would much rather be getting dirty. I don't mind that.
Have you ever done any gold prospecting, Sue?
I have not.
Well, if you ever do it, and I can totally relate to what Tony is saying, because I got a Garrett pan, and you got the I think the big 1/4-inch classifier with it a few years back, and never had done anything with it. And went to a creek, and we don't have hardly any gold here in Kentucky. Kentucky and Alaska are the two. I mean, Kentucky and Hawaii are the two states that really don't have any gold. But I'm right down at the Tennessee line, and so we can find a little bit. And I went out earlier in early summer here, and then first thing I know, I bought all the classifiers. I bought a sluice box, and then me and Jeff were traipsing around in the creek and everything. And if you ever see yellow in the pan, you get the fever, don't you?
It is. It draws you in, and I tell you. But the funny thing is, as you're doing it, and again, you just have to have that interest in it, and you find that little speck there, and you flip your lid off and just go crazy. So I bring it home, right, and I'm showing my wife, and she's like, "You were gone for how many hours? And you worked so hard, and you found what?" But look, it's gold. It's right here. It's gold.
They don't.
Okay, whatever you enjoy doing.
Yeah, I found that.
Exactly. Exactly it.
People that don't hunt and don't dig and don't metal detect, they don't get it. To be able to find those things, and I hear that all the time. You were gone all day, and you came home with 3 jars and four clay marbles. That's all you got to show for your day? That and you're covered in mud,
We were at a house last week, and Tony's finding all the great stuff in this house, and the homeowners that gave us permission, they're just so generous. They're like, "Yeah, have at it." And you could tell the husband was really into it, but the wife was really reserved. She was the one standing behind the screen door, peering out at us, wondering what kind of holes these guys were going to dig in the house. And then Tony come up with this really cool, like Davy Crockett old belt buckle. 2 cross, long rifles and stuff. And we just thought that was such a cool thing. And the guy comes out, he goes, "Well, did you find anything?" And Tony says, "Well, yeah, we did." And we kind of all convened on the walkway to show this guy this Davy Crockett buckle. And here comes the wife, like storming out of the screen door. Boy, she's almost running because she wants to come see this fantastic treasure that we found. And she takes one look at it and with both hands goes, "Brah! That's nothing," and turns around and storms back into the door. So some people just don't get it, and I guess you got to be a little
nutty
like us, huh?
Yeah,
I guess so. So.
She'd have probably said
that was a fantastic find.
She'd have probably said the same thing if it was a U.S. Civil War buckle too, because they just, people. I'm like Sue. The people that don't do it don't understand the appeal that we have to all that. Sue, you got another question for these guys here?
I do have a question for Tony. How did you come about with the name 5280 Adventures?
Oh,
good question.
That it's a really good question, and it's surprisingly I get it a lot. It makes sense if Ken's never asked me. I've never had anybody in Colorado ask me, but it seems like if you're outside of Colorado, you just don't get it, and you ask. So because Colorado and Denver is obviously the capital of Colorado, and you always hear about the Mile High City. Well, there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. And, a lot of things around here is everything's 5280. I mean, we have a magazine called 5280, and it's just kind of the thing about Colorado is it's a mile high, it's a mile above sea level. So I was just trying to come up with something because I wanted it to be about Colorado because that's where I live. But I didn't want it to be specifically metal detecting because I had an interest in so many other things. And I just said, well, I'm just going to try, 5280 Adventures. And that's just where it came about. That's the reason why it's 5280 Adventures.
And now everybody that listens to this show
See?
will know exactly how many feet are in a mile. And you'll
right.
You'll never have to worry about that again. You kids that are listening, when you take a test at school, all you have to remember is 5280 Adventures, and you know the answer to that question. That is amazing, isn't it?
There you go.
Isn't that is cool? He and I were talking before the show started, and I said, I'm kind of embarrassed. It took me a minute to figure out what 5280 Adventures meant. But it dawned on me last night when I was watching one of the videos. I'm like, I know what that is. There's 5,280 feet in a mile. Denver's a mile-high city. Ding, ding, ding. It's like one of those, I could have had a V8 moments.
Yeah. Well, it just shot right over the head of this redneck. I didn't make the connection at all. I've had people ask me, digging with 7, how I got the name 7. Well, that was my number in baseball, and then our son, who is second year in college, he's wore number 7 in his baseball career all of his life, and so it's kind of a special number with us. But I guess there's rhyme and reason for everything that people pick, for a number and everything. Do you guys ever hit any of the old mining towns in your area?
Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, we do. You got to be careful there. You got to be careful of, private property, and you got to ask for permission. But we do. There's quite a few old silver mines, and all kinds of mines, really, copper, lead, gold, silver, all kinds of mines up in these mountains above us here, and we really enjoy getting out to those because you're really getting out in nature. The only thing we're lacking, I'm telling you, we both joke about it. We both joke with our wives about it, but little do they know we're a little more serious than they think we are. We really need to buy one of those 2-seater, ATVs that you can ride back into the sticks a bit and get back in there because so far, we're limited just how far we can hike back in physically and get a day's done and back out. But there's so much more even further back in that's available. I think really that's where we need to go, but we're going to need some machinery to get back there, I think.
Yeah, there's lots of four-wheel drive trails. I mean, there's Jeep trails all over the mountains. And there's a lot of off-road that you can drive in two-wheel vehicles, but you can only get so far. And if you don't have four-wheel or something else that is a little bit beefier than that, I mean, you're, like DK said, you can only get back as far as we can walk. And I tell you, you get up around 9,000 feet, it takes a toll on you pretty quickly. Even living here, I tell you, we get winded, and I'm not in the best shape of my life, but it takes a toll on you, and it's tough to get in and out of those places.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about, that it takes you a while to acclimate to that. I think Mark Hoover might have been talking about that some too. But both of you guys are members of the Eureka Treasure Club there, aren't you?
Yeah.
And
it is.
And Jeff Lupert, my buddy?
Yeah,
sure
Jeff,
do.
He's our vice president, and I tell you, we are pretty lucky to have somebody with that much experience and knowledge to be close with him. So really, really lucky to have him in the group, and just a great guy. I tell you, he'll actually had one time I got off work early, and I put out on Facebook, I said, anybody I want to go digging in Denver. This was actually before one of our meetings. Anybody want to go digging in Denver? And I got a couple hours, and I didn't hear anything back. And so I get over to the meeting, and Jeff pulls me aside. He says, "Did you get a response from anybody?" I said, "No, it's fine. I went and had lunch and just, chilled out or whatever." And he said, here's my number. I tell you, the next time that you got some extra time, you go ahead and text me, and I'll meet you wherever you want to go, and I'll go digging with you. Like, wow.
Wow.
And I don't think we had nodded to each other in passing, and we know who each other was, but not a deep conversation or anything like that previously to that. But just a great guy, really, really, really fun to be around. And we've done some hunts together now, and it's a great group, that Eureka treasure hunting. I'm real lucky that we got involved. I've been trying to get Ken out there for a while, and finally he came, and now we've been pretty involved with that.
And I guess y'all got Caden involved in that too, haven't you?
He goes with us, and in the meetings they'll we have finds of the month where in the back where you can vote on finds of the month, and then they have somebody who does some sort of a presentation, and we've had people that talked about shipwrecks down in Florida in the coast or in the Gulf Coast, and we've had a railroad relic expert guy. I mean, we just had so many different people that have been there, and as you guys could hear when Cade was on the phone, if it has to do with history, man, that kid will sit there and listen for hours and just soak it in. So he really enjoys it, and he's going to know some people there, and it's kind of funny because the hobby itself is generally older males, and not to discriminate against anybody, but it seems like that's kind of the majority of the people, and so you've got Caden walking around, and he's talking with these guys that are probably 10 times his age, it seems like, and talking about all these finds and his machine, and just the look in their eyes as they're grinning up a storm at him, and yeah, he has a good time there as well. And again, it's more time for him and I to spend together with something that we enjoy.
And there's no doubt that this hobby is dominated by older men and has been for a long time. And that's one reason why we reach out to so many ladies that are in it, like Sue, because, they're great hunters as well. Guys, Absolutely. We're coming up on another break right here, and when we come back, the phone lines are still open, 270-495-0315. And when we come back, I'm going to let Sue introduce the subject of Cohen roll hunting. If you want to keep up with what's going on in the metal detecting world, then you need to be a subscriber to American Digger magazine. Butch and Anita Holcomb are the publishers of the magazine and have won awards for 3 straight years for being the best digger magazine on the market. American Digger magazine is available in both print and digital formats, so no matter where you live in the world, you can enjoy the latest happenings in the hobby. You can get in touch with American Digger magazine by going to americandigger.com or give them a call at 770-362-8671 and be sure and tell them that you heard it on Relics Radio. And by the way, if you got your issue of American Digger magazine for this month or for this bi-monthly magazine, I had my cap bust in the recent finds section there. And also I've got an article on the Great Silver Hoard with Jeff Ford, Wes Stringer, and Chris Heimsoff that's going to be coming out January, February issue. It is a great magazine. If you're not a subscriber to it, you're missing a lot of good information. Go ahead, Sue, and talk to him about Cohen roll hunting.
I had never heard that term until just a few months ago. Had no idea what it was. And somebody had posted, they had went into the bank and got a box of $50, like $500 worth. I'm like, oh my gosh. And going through, and he's finding did find a few silver ones in there, not too many. And it would have never dawned on me ever to go get $10 worth of pennies or $100 worth of quarters to see if there's still silver in there. How does anybody get started doing coin roll hunting?
I was the same exact way. I had not a clue about it. And then just being on YouTube, there's some people that are for metal detecting. They're coin shooters, and they're looking specifically for coins, and that it's interesting. It's great to see old cool coins and things like that. And then just came across a couple actual channels that's all they do. I mean, they're coin collectors, and they do coin roll hunting. And I was like, okay, well, it sounds interesting. I'll watch them. And they found some cool stuff. And I was like, well, let's try it and see what the heck it's all about. And so I started doing it, and I've only started with pennies because it, like you said, I mean, people come with $500 here and there, and I mean, I've seen some people that have $2,000 worth of coins sitting in front of them, and it blows me away. Like I got a couple rows of pennies here. I'm just gonna look through all these pennies, but another thing that I thought about when I was doing it was, first and foremost, I wanted to go live on YouTube. I really think it's kind of the future of YouTube itself is do a lot of live streaming and things like that, because you can really interact just like on your radio show where you've got the chat going on. Kind of the same thing. It's live chat, it's live interaction, and it's that, I don't know, just that connection that I have. So I thought, hey, I'm not just going to sit here and in front of the camera and just chat with people. I want to kind of do something while I was chatting. So like, well, let's do some live streaming of coin roll hunting. And then it kind of evolved pretty quickly into, well, hey, Caden, let's get some competitions going on here, because people really kind of enjoy that. And how can we, interact with people and make it exciting and fun and things like that. So we did some coin roll hunting competitions, and I think the pie in the face was one of them, and I lost that one. But it kind of got Caden involved with coin collecting, which was kind of another thing that, some of us enjoy doing. So, starting to teach him, what an old coin is, and the different mint marks and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a whole other world that I knew nothing about. It's a lot of research and things like that to find out, well, what are the good coins and this and that. But we've enjoyed it. I started a Wheaties book that has, as many Wheaties coins as pennies that we can find with different, the year and the mint mark on it, and just kind of collecting. And so once we find our wheat pennies, we look in the book, and it's just kind of another one of those things that him and I connected on, something for us to do. And we can do it in the evenings when it's dark out and we can't go metal detecting, after school or after work. We can just jump on at night and we can do it, live on YouTube. And so it's been another thing that we've connected on, and evolving into the competition, and what's the biggest and best next competition thing we're going to do, and always trying to, one up the last time. But that's just what we do. I mean, we go through and see what we can find, and I don't know, it's been enjoyable. But I really, to be honest with you, I kind of do it as a secondary thing on the live streams. I like the interaction with the people on YouTube. So, but it's been fun. I found some interesting coins, some things that a lot of people haven't never found, and they've been coin roll hunting for a long time. I've found what's called a blank planchet, and essentially it's the coin before it gets stamped at the mint. And I found one of those when I was coin roll hunting, and that was like blew some people away, that they've been, hunting forever, and I've never found one of those. And I'm like, oh, right. I found one. So
no, I've done the same. I actually did, like you, it blows me away to see people with $500,000 worth of coins sitting in front of them. And here I am with my $10 worth of pennies, going through pennies. But I started collecting coins in my 20s, when I was in my early 20s. There used to be, the place is long gone now. There used to be a coin shop near where I lived that these guys had the old metal Folgers coffee cans just full of pennies and foreign coins, and oh my God. And I would sit in there on a Saturday afternoon for hours and go through these pennies, and I would spend $10 and leave with a big old bag of stuff, I still have, and I would go to the coin shows and all that stuff. So I've got 30 years worth of stuff accumulated in there, and in all that time, I've never heard of coin roll hunting ever.
Yeah.
So, like y'all, I've started, we'll do just the pennies, and have found some pretty neat stuff. I haven't nothing major. I haven't, I haven't found an Indian head or anything like that yet. But I have, found some wheat pennies, found some S pennies. I'll keep those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you find the easy ones are the wheat ones, because that's what they're right on the back. But then, I get so overwhelmed with the different errors and die cracks and all these different things that these coin collectors know about, and I'm slowly learning them. But I did find my first Indian head coin roll hunting, so that one was kind of my holy grail of finding it in the penny roll was an Indian head penny, awesome. And I actually found that on a live stream. And I didn't know. I was speechless. It was just one of those things. It was a 1901 that had been in circulation somehow still, and it got in a roll and ended up on my desk. It's just, one of those things. And so.
And Barb is in the chat, and Barb really likes Indian heads and is always chasing them. There's another alternative right there, Barb, for you to do.
Start coin roll hunting.
That's right. And Sue, my chat is locked up, and so if any questions come up there, you're going to have to fill those for me because I can't see it anymore. But in our show prep, we did have a question on coin roll hunting from Bob McCracken, and he said, what is the coolest, oldest, and best coin that you found doing that? And you may have already touched on it.
Yeah, I did. It was the coolest and the oldest would have to be that Indian head. I mean, when you look back at the kind of the evolution of that penny, I mean, it goes back to 1800s, obviously, and then right at the early 1900s, and so you're talking they've been out of circulation for over 100 years, or not being produced at least, and not really a form of currency. I mean, who pays with an Indian head penny anymore? Who pays with pennies at all? But that's my oldest coin I've ever found coin roll hunting. Like I said, I found it on a live stream, and what's funny is there's a channel on YouTube that I started watching. His name's Quinn's Coins, and he does coin roll hunting, and he's this young kid, and he makes this competition where he assigns like a point value to each type of coin that you can find while you're doing this, and obviously the more rare, the higher the points. And so that's what Cade and I were using when we would have our competitions, and whoever scored the most points was the winner. Well, you find an Indian head penny, and I'm looking at this right now, it's 50 points. So I found that, and of course Cade's like, well, that's it, I lost, I'm never going to be able to win this now, what do I have to do? But that's the oldest one I found, and it's super rare to find them when you're coin roll hunting. That was, I think, what I said, 1901. My most valuable, you can find error coins that are going to be more valuable than just that Indian head. I saw that DK had written in the chat here that I'd actually found what's called a woody scent, where it has to do with the chemical composition of the metals as they're making these blank planchets. It actually doesn't mix correctly, and it looks like it's a piece of wood. It's not shiny. And I actually found what they call a woody scent, which I don't know. It's not worth $2 or something, but just another kind of a cool looking coin that I found and while I was doing that. So.
Yeah, none of the stuff that we find, when we're metal detecting and everything, monetary value, it really doesn't have that much, but, historical value, it has a lot. Do you have something else there, Sue, to follow up on?
I was going to say that, well, I've only done pennies in the coin roll hunting. The ones that surprise me even more than finding wheat pennies still, are the ones that look like they just got put into circulation. I hit a whole roll that probably 40%, 50% of it looked like, somebody had cleaned out a collection and, went and paid with pennies for something. And the pennies were all like early to mid 60s, still had the mint luster, were in perfect shape, uncirculated shape. It's like, where have these pennies been for the last 50 years?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It was really amazing.
I found a couple Wheaties that have looked like that. That's the same thing. You start to question, was this in a collection and they just dumped it? And because it hasn't been in circulation, because it would be, gummed up or tarnished and whatnot. But, it looks like it's brand new, like it just got minted. And it's a 1945 wheat penny. It's just amazing to see, that it's been around for that long, and it's near perfect.
I've kind of got a side note on coin hunting, and I know that most people probably wouldn't be interested in it, but it is something to kind of consider. I've been doing a little bit of hunting at the lake along the shoreline and everything, and when you find the zinc pennies now, I found a bunch of them that are almost gone. And so those are not going to be around. And so if you have a full collection of post 1982 pennies, which that's when they went from copper to zinc, was in 1982, you may have something 100 years from now that's going to be valuable, because as they take those out of circulation, as those years 1983 and forward there, they are going to be rare coins. You know, we hate them now, but they're going to be rare coins.
Yeah, it's amazing how deteriorated some of those zinc-ins come out of the ground when you go digging them, or in the water. You know, I know that the ones that I've generally found, like in soccer fields or things like that, where they throw a lot of fertilizer down, man, that fertilizer just eats through those coins like nothing.
And water does too, for some reason. I don't know. Getting back on metal detecting, I've got another question while Sue's thinking of something else. What is the best thing that you have ever found in your mind metal detecting?
I knew you were going to ask me this. And it's a tough one, because like I there's different like ideas behind things as to why they would be my favorite. I just this past weekend, I found my first Tootsie Toy car, which, you know, to some people in 1930s, you know, isn't that old, but it just was something that, you know, it's attached to kids. You know, it's an older car. I mean, I just loved that. It just really meant something really cool to me. Probably there's two other things that I can think of. I was out at an old school, and I'm talking like 1800 school that's still standing. And I actually found a Warren G. Harding lapel pin that's made of lead, and it's an elephant, and it has Harding stamped on it. And it's, you know, I couldn't find much research on it, but it just was something that was really cool that really put it back to kind of the heyday of when the school was really going. And I don't know, you know, how it starts that story of how did it get there? You know, who had it, who dropped it, why did they have it, you know, and why was I there at that moment to pick it back up? And just something like that back to the early 1900s that really, I don't know, I just thought was really, really cool about that. And then probably my oldest piece that I found, I was actually with, if you look in the chat here, we have Derek Spitzer in the chat. He's my buddy out in Ohio that I've dug with before. And this piece, he was with me when I dug this piece here. It's an old saw medallion. So when they would make the old saws, in the wooden handle part, they would sink these medallions into them. And it told about, you know, who was the maker and all those kind of things. Well, the piece that I found, and we didn't know what in the world it was when we had found it, but it actually dates back based on the design and the picture and, you know, how the and is in the name. And it says Philadelphia, but it only says Philada. So based on all that, you can do the research on it. And it dates it back to 1865 to 1871. And then I think it's probably my oldest piece that I found. And again, it was just one of those things that, you know, from way back then, you know, why was this, I didn't find the rest of the saw, you know, where'd the rest of the saw go? Why did I only find the medallion? And, you know, what's the story to that kind of thing? But it's really neat to be able to find a piece. And for me, and I know it's the same thing for Seven here, is to do the history and you know, maybe people don't know about what all that is. But being able to research it and then get a date on it and then find it, you know, in the history timeline, it just drives me crazy. It just drives me like no other. So,
and the reason that I always ask that question, primarily because I'm interested to know, you know, what people think are their favorite or, the oddest find or whatever that they found, but it's primarily for newcomers to the hobby, because it's easy to get discouraged if you're finding stuff that, you know, you say, well, you know, I can't find a real, or I can't find a gold coin, or I can't find a diamond ring or something other, you know. But just to hear other detectorists say this was my favorite, like the Tootsie Toy, that yellow car that you found, it is an amazing find. It's not worth anything, I mean,
right.
Monetarily, but historically, it has its place, and that's why I love doing history clips on my YouTube channel. Is because, first of all, I learn something every week, and everybody else seems like they like it because they're learning something. And, most of us didn't care all that much about history when we were kids, but the reason is because we didn't make it, the teachers then didn't make it personal,
That's true.
Yeah.
And your clips, when you put that stuff into your videos, I tell you that I'm like just a dog salivating as I'm listening and watching those clips and just learning about something that you've done the research on. And I know that you've said before that sometimes, just the research on that particular piece is taking you 8 hours or whatever just to find out what in the world this thing is. But just being able to do that, I think, is what's so satisfying to a lot of us. And I'm telling you, I love watching that piece of your videos for sure. That's something that drives me every time I see it.
And that kind of came about on an accident because I found one or two things that I needed to do research on because I thought, they were probably pretty interesting. And then I got to watching and thinking, can I do this every week? Can I find something every week that you can? And some of the finds are just absolutely nothing. I mean, I have intentions. We don't find too many of them. Luckily, the places we hunt. I'm going to do a history clip on pull tabs one of these days, just for people to have, they'll be able to pick one up and instead of saying, oh, dadgum, another pull tab, they'll say, that and there was from the, 1960s or 1970s, whatever the research reveals on it. But, yeah, it helps the newcomer because now if somebody goes out and they find one of those yellow Tootsie cars like you did, they'll say, oh, this is a good find, because Tony found one of these and he was excited about it. And so it helps the newcomer find a little bit of excitement until they do find that, that stellar find.
Sure, yeah. And you do a great job at that, too.
Yeah. Sue, what else have you got for him?
I think I've asked all my questions. I do want to make a comment about the whole pull tab thing, though, and I know this is everybody's got their own thing that they really like. The old style pull tabs, the old 1960s, 70s pull tabs. I find those hold quite a bit in some of the parks that I hunt in, and I keep them. If they're complete whole ones, I keep them, and it's amazing how many different styles there are of those pull tabs. Well, I got to reading a post that somebody put up there. Do you know that people actually collect those and pay money for them?
I'm sure they do.
They do. And I my one of my things that I love to collect and dig when I get the opportunity are mason jars. I have a mason jar that is full of those old style pull tabs that I have dug and picked up at some of the older parks that I've got to hunt around here. I'm like, gosh, I might have a fortune sitting there in pull tabs and not even know it.
I know some people have done fundraisers with pull tabs too, to help out a family or something other. And I don't know exactly how they went about doing all that, but I know that they did. One other question and I'll probably get a hold of you, Sue, for a little bit and pick your brain some whenever I do a history clip on pull tabs and
on the pull tabs.
Yeah, see what you found out on it. But I'll give you credit for it, But I've got another question for Tony, and that is, what one thing that you think you should have found, but you haven't found it yet, but you think that you should have? We've all got those.
Yeah. Well, it's Thursday, and if you would have asked me this on last Thursday, I could have told you this definitively, but I found it on Saturday, and up until this point, the piece that had been eluding me was that dang silver mercury dime, and I finally got my first silver mercury dime this past Saturday, so I got to move on to number 2 on the list.
So what would number 2 be?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is just thinking of different coins. And I guess probably what I would have to say would be like anything in the barber era for coin wise. I know that was early 1900s, and that would fit kind of the history of Colorado. Colorado was a state in 1876, and really picked up into the early 1900s. So I'd feel like I'd find a lot more barber coins, but those have eluded me, and that's next on my list. So anything barber, that's on my list. And my fingers are crossed here. I'm actually going on a business trip next week, and I've got a hold of a predominant, I don't want to say predominant, a well-known YouTuber who we're going to go hunting together. And this particular YouTuber finds lots of silver. So my fingers are crossed that, maybe next time you have me on, I can say, I found my barber and I got to move on to number 3 on the list. So we'll see.
Well, Scott Duncan with History Seekers, he's in the same boat that you are. I mean, the guy has found C.S. Buckles, he's found all kinds of stuff, but he cannot find a barber. Let me give you my input on where you're most likely to find a barber. And that is, we found a old fairground that went out in 1916. And we hunted that place, and I probably found upward of 50 barbers on that place. Now, if we hunt a house site in that time frame, say from 1880 to 1915 or 16, we won't find them. And I can't explain why that you don't find those. You'll find Indian heads. And, at some of the real old sites that we hunt, it's not uncommon for us to find Spanish reals. We don't find too many large cents, but we do find a lot of Spanish reals. But for some reason, you don't find those at house sites, but you find them at a turn-of-the-century spot where people gathered together, whether it's a church or whether it's a fairground or a place where people that had money would be attending, and maybe losing some of that.
Well, that's a good tip. I will take that to heart. I will listen to anybody that has more knowledge than I do. And I think Ken's in the chat here. I'm sure he's taking notes. So, Ken, write that down. We're going to hit something like that next.
I would think, though, that, at some of the old mining spots that y'all might be able to find some of those there. And even a gold coin, I mean, after all, they're digging gold. And so you'd think that they...
And
go ahead.
That's what we've thought as well. Yeah, is that we should be able to find that, because most of the mining towns up there are 1870s and went out about 1920. So we've got a 50-year span there, and that hits right in that time of year there for a barber. So I would think so as well, but it hasn't come yet.
Well, it will, and it will when you least expect it.
I know.
Yep.
My first large cent, I was counting up the other day, I think I was 36 years finding my first large cent. I thought it would never happen, and then I found it, and then I found 2 or 3 more pretty quick right after that. Never thought I'd find a cap bust, and I found one of those, and then a month later found another. Never thought I'd find a half dime, and I found it, and then 2 or 3 months later I found a cap bust half dime. So, once you get the monkey off your back, it seems like things open up.
Right.
But you never know. You never do. Hey, we're going to give away a T-shirt courtesy of detectees.com, and we're going to give that shirt to Caden tonight and support him. And
yay!
And so, there's a lot of people in the chat here that don't have a shirt, and we could have given them to anyone. I know Ken King's already got a shirt, so we sure wasn't going to give him one,
That's right.
But we're going to give that to Caden, and so you've got my contacts, and so you just get a hold of me and let me know what Caden's size is and what your address is, and I'll pass that along to Ken and Mark Guthrie, and we will send Caden a Relics Radio T-shirt.
Guys, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I'm going to tell him right now, and we'll be off the phone when I tell him, but you'll be able to hear him scream. He'll be a little excited about that one. Thank you very, very much.
And before we go, you be sure and tell everybody how they about your YouTube channel and Facebook and all of that.
Sure. 5280 Adventures. on YouTube, and I am on social media. I'm trying to pick that up quite a bit. So you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that good stuff, all under 5280 Adventures. It's the same little picture. It kind of looks like the Colorado flag. So you should be able to find me there. And come on over and join me, and hopefully I can put up some stuff you enjoy.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly support you and encourage everybody to go over. You're going to love his channel. You're going to love his kind of hunting and the chemistry that he has with Caden, and also with DK. I couldn't help but laugh the other day because y'all were hunting, and I think it's where you found your 1945D Mercury dime. But you're over, and you've got the camera on you, and you can see DK on the other side of the yard, and DK's pointing his finger, and he's saying, he's killing it, you know. But that's good.
I was watching that.
Yeah, that's good chemistry. And Sue, I cannot thank you enough for coming on tonight and being with us.
It has been my pleasure. I had a great time the first time I was on, so I was really excited about being back on tonight again.
Well, Jeff goes and lives with the hippies twice a year, so I'm going to give you a call anytime that he does. I don't think that I could find a better co-host to fill in for Jeff than you. You've just done a marvelous job. And thank everybody in the chat, and we thank everybody that all the calls in tonight from DK and from Caden. And you guys hang on the line. As soon as I close the show out, I'll talk to y'all for a moment. And if you like Metal Detecting Podcast, let me suggest that you go to Beyond Sight and Sound on Sunday night and Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, right here on Spreaker. All of these are on Spreaker. Monday night, All Metal Mode is on at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. American Digger Relic Roundup is on Monday night at 9 o'clock. History Seekers is on Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. And Hardcore Metal Detecting is on Thursday night and Saturday night at 8 o'clock. And obviously, Relics Radio is on every Thursday night at 8 o'clock, and next week Jeff will be back with us, and we certainly do appreciate everybody that supports us and everybody that was on the show tonight. So until next week, get out there and dig some history. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Relics Radio. We really do appreciate it. Be sure and join us live each Thursday night at 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern here on Spreaker. Or you can catch the archive show at Relics Radio on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, or iTunes. Please take a minute and hit the like button, and be sure and follow us so that you'll get notifications of all of our upcoming broadcasts. You can also find us on YouTube at Digging with Seven or Tennessee Jeff, or you can check us out on our Relics Radio Facebook page. If you'd like to get in touch with us, then send an email to diggingwith7@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We hope you'll join us next Thursday night, and until then, get out there and dig some history.